Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson and welcome to Getting to Know Your Local Police, an ongoing segment that allows us to be able to talk with local Huntsville Police Department officers about the work that they do and to help you get to know a little bit more about who they are. Today with us is Lieutenant Dewayne McCarver. He is with the West Precinct and we welcome him to the broadcast today.
Thank you, Kenny. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. You know, we've been talking with other officers as a part of this initiative that has been launched by the Huntsville Police Department to just introduce you as people in the community. I mean, you wear the badge, you wear the uniform, but there's really so much more to you. And one of the places I always like to start is to ask people where they're from. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, but we moved to Huntsville early in my life. My father was an air traffic controller, and we moved to Huntsville as part of his career. So moved here back in about 78, 79. Been here ever since.
Yeah, that's probably another whole story in itself. I'm always curious about air traffic controllers. I don't know a lot of people who know those folk, but your dad was actually an air traffic controller.
Yes, in fact, he teaches air traffic control now out in Oklahoma. So.
Well, that's got to be a pretty cool thing, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. Very interesting.
Yeah. So you are in Huntsville now, and you are thinking about a career in law enforcement. How did that all come about for you?
That's an interesting story, really. I was in college, going to Wallace State College, and I was in computer science major at the time. It was early. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but that's a major I had declared. I was on the way to school one day and got pulled over by a police officer. This female officer walked up to my car, just as polite, nice as she could be. I was fortunate enough to get off with a warning to slow down. But as she drove away, I sat and thought for a moment. And I thought, you know, that looks like it could be a really fun job to be out, to be able to get out. It was a pretty day that day, and I thought, here I am about to go sit in a class and be bored to death learning about computers at that point. And I thought, I think it would be a fun job to be able to drive around and interact with people the way that she just did with me. And so, that day is really where the interest was sparked.
And so when did you actually become a police officer?
Well, I applied in June of 1993, and my police academy started in January of 1995. So I've been with them since January of 95. I actually was a part of the Ranger program for about a year prior to my being hired. Okay. So really since 94 is part of the department as a whole.
I've asked several other officers about the academy experience, which is always a pretty daunting experience for most people. I mean, it's pretty intensive and you're exposed to a lot of things. Was there any time along the way that you thought maybe this wasn't the best decision?
No, there wasn't. Well, not in the police academy. In the police academy, it was very tough, but the relationships that I built with who are now my fellow officers, who were my academy classmates at the time, they were bonds and friendships that I hadn't ever had before. It really wasn't difficult to stay in. It was definitely one of the most difficult times of my life. It was a huge achievement. I was very proud of that achievement, but I never had a thought of leaving at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, now you've had many, many years of work on the force. What is it that, I always think about this when I think about different careers. People that look at you from the outside may see you in a certain kind of way, but they don't know the whole story about you. What is it about police work that you think somebody may not really know or understand that you'd like to be able to say, here's something that the general public could think about?
Well, probably this comes across every police officer's mind and want to maybe educate the public about, and that is that we are all here because we want to do good things. We want to generally help people. You hear that all the time. You get into the police profession, you have all the best intentions in the world, and you begin to realize that each call you go on and the dangers that you face, you begin to realize that you have to approach each of these situations with a certain demeanor for your safety. Doesn't mean that you're any less compassionate or caring or that you don't care about the people just the same, but the demeanor you carry into each situation may be the difference between whether or not you live through that call. A lot of times the public mistakes that demeanor for badge heaviness or lack of compassion, sometimes early in an interaction with a police officer. You see that a lot on traffic stops. You know, I have a lot of friends who say, you know, I had a really rude police officer today. And I'll ask them to elaborate, explain what was rude. And when they do, I get the same general statements about the way they approach them. When I explain to them what it's like to be a police officer and walk up to a car, having no idea what's there, having no idea whether or not that person wants to shoot you, and what's going through that officer's head, they always stop and say, you know, I never thought of it really that way. But I think it's really, really important for the public to know that we all, every officer I know, we want to do the right thing every day. We want to treat people right. But it's important for us to go home to our families in the evenings. And so we have to do what we have to do, carry ourselves in a certain way to make sure that we're approaching the day safely and that we do get back to our families.
Right.
So I think that's that's something that I really would encourage the public to just think about. You know, the old put the shoe on the other foot thing, and just bear with us just a little bit and understand that we're trying to do the best we can in the safest manner that we can, and we truly do care. And I don't know an officer who goes out to work and says, you know, I just think I want to be rude to people today. They don't. Not one that I know is like that. So, you know, we enjoy our jobs, and everybody I know cares about the people that they work for, the public.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, because just the whole idea about being stopped by a police officer from the public's perspective it causes anxiety. You recognize that there's discomfort perhaps and a little tension, but as you said, the police officer that is approaching that situation feels some of those same things. And so it's a dance in a way where you got to kind of balance that whole process. And I know one thing I've been really conscientious of is the 1 or 2 times that I've been stopped by a police officer in the last, say, 5 years or so, about how I act. And I think it's important to be conscious of how I act. For no other reason than the fact that I understand this is a delicate situation. He doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know who I am. I certainly don't know what they've been experiencing. I don't know what's happening in terms of just the whole dynamic of their work. And I may have had a bad day at work myself, or I may be in the middle of an argument myself. Could be pretty tense for me too. So what can I do? And so I automatically make sure, you know, my hands are easy to see. I make sure that I ask questions, that I talk and have a conversational thing, that my voice is at a certain tone. I imagine there's certain things that the public could be aware of and engage in terms of these conversations as well, or these interactions as well. Would you agree with that?
I do. And you know, something to think about is police officers, we do interact with people in that manner all the time, over and over each day. We get a good sense of what is a normal level of apprehension in everybody we deal with. It's easy sometimes. Well, it's not always easy. Most of the time, we get a pretty quick sense of the situation based on the person's demeanor. We expect, and we're used to some level of, I guess, discomfort on the part of the person that we're dealing with, and we understand that. But you're right, and some of the things that you just mentioned are certainly important. It will always set the officer at ease, you know, especially at night. If their window is down, their interior light is turned on, and we can see their hands. The simple things like that sure help. You know, sometimes we deal with people who we pull them over. They take a long time to stop. When they do, they don't roll their windows down. Their windows are tinted. We think we may see some movement in there that could be them either getting a weapon or hiding a weapon or who knows what. Those are the really tense situations. And if the public is aware of that type of stop, we'll just do the opposite of that, you know? Pull over, we enjoy you pulling over in a lit area and in a place where we're not exposed to traffic, and turn on your lights so we can see you, and it's just the basics. It's really
just keeping that attention down.
Yeah.
Got about 30 seconds, but I know that you definitely have a family, you're married, have kids, and I just wanted to give you a chance to give a shout out to them. Oh
yeah, wonderful family, wonderful wife. I have 3 boys. We're actually in the middle right now of a cultural exchange. We have an exchange student from Sweden that we have living with us. Looks like she's wanting to stay for another year. She loves America. So we have a family, a wonderful family, and yeah, I'm very proud of them as well.
Lieutenant Dewayne McCarver, West Precinct, thank you for coming to talk to us today and letting us know a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We'll be back with more segments of Getting to Know Your Police Officer in the very near future. In the meantime, I'm Kenny Anderson. Hope you have a good day.